What's good, everybody? It's your boy Server Error 405, along with Timu Gulak, also known as the Demented. Here we are, the Gorilla Podcast. We're going to talk all about wrestling. You name it, we're going to talk about it. We're going to cover it. This one's pretty much we got a jam-packed episode for our first episode, so we're going to kind of get right into it. First off, Team Gulak, how you doing today, bro?
Listen, I'm just one of the few people who is not released by the WWE this week. So, I mean, I guess that's a positive note for us, considering we're here just like them, kind of jobless. So, let's just say I feel like I feel good. I feel good. This is our inaugural podcast, and hopefully everybody gets on board with the wrestling because wrestling is hot right now, and I think the way wrestling is actually going, it feels good again. Um, because there was an era because we're older. There was an era where wrestling just felt stale, and now it's feeling more like the old again. I mean, it's getting a little more not raunchier, but it's getting
Right.
a little more personal. It's getting a little bit more works on how to handle the real life situations. And my daughter's screaming daddy for me.
She's saying, "Daddy, save it for the rest of the podcast." Yeah, so this
No.
this is Gorilla Booking. Basically, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things that's going on in wrestling. And the first thing we're going to talk about, and he mentioned the releases. There was a lot of releases that have happened over the last few days in the WWE. For me, they're not too surprising on most of them, honestly, with who got released. Um, it also ties into the whole AAA getting bought, by the WWE. So people were up in arms today thinking Alberto Del Rio is going back to the WWE, which he's not. They haven't said anything that's close to that publicly. What do you think about the releases? Who stood out to you, and how do you think the AAA affected it?
Um, the one that really stuck out the two actually there was two that really stuck out really big for me, and that is Gigi Dolan and Eddie Thorpe. Um, Obviously, when you look at the list, there was about nine of them that came off the list. Most of them are from NXT, which makes sense. Like
Yeah,
that's where the cuts need to happen. Like the big cuts don't need to be happening on the main roster, right?
right, right.
Those should just be contract expires and stuff like that. This is probably their new way of getting rid of the dead weight is these newer people who are coming in, you cycle them through NXT, and if they just don't make the cut out of NXT, you just dump them off NXT. And honestly, as a business acumen, it's a pretty smart move because it's like, when you take a baseball player, for example, and you draft them onto your team, you send them down to the minors. They might never even see the majors.
Right.
So like this to me was a really, really smart move on WWE's part, chopping off a lot of dead weight. The obvious one that I will always stand on is there's two people who didn't make the list, and it fucking shocks me.
Who? Who didn't? Who should have been on that list?
Ridge Holland and Nikita Lyons.
Oh, I can't stand neither one. Both of those I can't stand. Nikita Lyons is the worst. I don't understand what the hype was for her. She was never good. She was never
Never
anything
good.
that like stood out like, wow, she's gonna be a next superstar. Her finisher was horrible. So I guess she's going to evolve. I guess that's like the punishment, I guess. That's gets goes there and that's
And
where
did you evolve your kneecaps to be better?
yeah, exactly. She's got more knee braces on than Stone Cold back in the fucking early 2000s. But yeah, honestly, to me, it didn't surprise me the people that were cut. I mean, I do like Dakota Kai, but just like Cora Jade, they're both very injury prone. And what's Dakota Kai really going to do? They did give her a brief I guess mid-card run going after the Intercontinental title. And, she went to the finals in that tournament. But I don't know, just she's not really bringing anything that makes me want to watch her more. Cora Jade, she's nice to look at and all, but she's just not she wasn't very good. She did definitely improve a little bit in the ring, but she's also very injury prone. There was the
Yeah.
rumor that she was supposed to feud with Lyra, But I think she got injured or something, and then she got replaced by Roxanne. But I'm not surprised by the people on the list. And of course, Eddie's going to go if Dakota's going to go. They're going to send them both because they're dating. So, Eddie, they were, using a lot in NXT, but I think you're right. I think this is a way to get rid of NXT people. Um, there wasn't any real big surprises. And, you read the, internet wrestling community out there that always has an opinion on everything, us included. We have a podcast doing it, but they just go crazy over these releases. They act like they're never going to see him again, but they're going to make a lot of money in the indies. Maybe they're going to start an OnlyFans. I'm bummed out over
I
Gigi.
think one has started an OnlyFans already, and the other one about the indie comment, Matt Cardona went out on X or Twitter and literally said, "You got two options. You literally go out there and reinvent yourself and bring a name for yourself and make a shit ton of money doing so, or you just ride the name that WWE gave you."
Yeah,
So, what Cardona said is absolutely perfect sense. Like you got two options, and that's it. And a
yeah,
lot of them will ride off the Cora Jades, the Braun Strowmans, probably the Shayna Baszlers. They'll ride off on the WWE name. But like, Caden Carter, Katrina Chance. I don't even know who Riley Osborne is. I don't know who Jakara Jackson is. I don't know who Xavier Bernard is,
oh,
and I don't know who Oro Mensa is. I don't know them, so therefore, to me, they can't ride off on the name because I never
right.
knew them in the first place.
Well, I
So
like
there's your chance
Jakara
to reinvent
Jackson.
yourself.
She was a part of the Meta Five, so that's why they kind of split them up on
Okay,
NXT. She was teamed up with Lash Legend, so they actually were they were involved in that big tag team title match, and
okay.
they were one of the teams in there. But Lash is still there, and I believe she's only there because she's dating Trick. So that's my own opinion. I could be wrong, but it's kind of weird to get rid of one and not the other
I
when the
mean,
you know
it took 9 people to bring somebody else's boyfriend back. So
right. Yeah, and
and
I thought
so
they could have used Braun for, they're supposed to bring the Wyatt Six back, so I thought Braun would probably be a good fit there. Give him one last shot because there's not much you could really do with him. I think his
you could have.
mystique is gone.
I mean, you could have broken it up into two tag teams. You could have had Loomis and
Joe Gacy.
Joe, Joe Gacy be one tag team, and then put Eric and Braun as another tag team, and then you have these two powerhouse tag teams,
Yeah,
and that could have been awesome. And then it's supposed to be six, and then technically you could have three tag teams at that point. So you could have Gacy and Loomis, Braun and Eric, and then Alexa Bliss and Nikki
Nikki.
Cross.
Yeah,
And then that's your six. I know the sixth person is the lantern supposedly, and it's supposed to be Bray's, you know, essence.
right.
But at the end of the day, we're running a business. You gotta quote unquote evolve
Yeah,
and bring on bring on a different concept.
yeah,
And they ran their course so quick, and I think they burnt them out so fast because they're pushing them. It, you're the Wyatt Six didn't feel Wyatt Sixy anymore.
yeah. Because
They lost
there's
their luster.
it's when they first debuted, it was amazing, and
Oh
the
yeah.
the build after that, the interviews, with Uncle Howdy, those were just like the kids like to call cinema. That was cinema. But the problem is that you could do all those things and you can have all these vignettes and everything, but you actually have to go out there and wrestle. And are these guys going to take losses because they look so strong, so dominant, and they have these powers or whatever the fuck it is? Like when they take a loss, then that kills the aura. Like with Undertaker, he was the Undertaker and he couldn't be beat. You couldn't do anything to him. He kept rising up and the early stages of Undertaker, and it went into WrestleMania. He didn't lose at WrestleMania until Brock, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to book them strong for a while. So that way, if they take a loss, they take a loss. Instead you end up looking like the Fiend when he got, beat by Goldberg in Saudi Arabia, which was horrible.
And they could have fixed that very, very easily. Like I will say to this day, they could have fixed that with one key thing. It shouldn't have been the Fiend that went out there. It should have been Firefly Funhouse Bray versus Bill Goldberg. Because then you would have had the weaker version of Bray Wyatt out there as the Firefly Funhouse character, and he gets absolutely blitzed over by freaking Goldberg, and they can still make Goldberg look strong. And they did
Yeah.
it again with The Miz. The Miz fought the Firefly Funhouse Bray. He should have lost. Like Firefly Funhouse Bray should have been the version of Bray that always lost, and then the Fiend always won. Just like kind of how Finn Balor's Demon has only lost one time. You
Yeah.
know, any other time he's won. He's never lost after that one time as the demon.
Yeah, that's the whole point of it. You know what I mean? Like you want to keep those characters strong. Maybe you could switch out, Uncle Howdy and he's actually Bo Dallas when he cuts the interviews. And then, you save Uncle Howdy for those, fiend moments or
Right.
those demon moments or whatever. But I think the promos are going to be fine. The vignettes are going to be fine. I think Alexa Bliss, rumor is she's joining. So, I think they're going to be a little bit more interesting with her because she's tied into the history of everything and can kind of go back and you know have that nostalgic kind of vibe that people they hold on to this because everyone misses Bray, so everyone holds on to it. And Bo looks just like his fucking brother, like
Oh
just
yeah.
dead on. He could actually go out there and just be like a smaller version of Bray. you know if Vince was still running shit, who knows, he might have fucking tried to do some shit. Just say you're Bray, yes, you're gonna be Bray.
The fake Undertaker.
Right, exactly. Fake Scott Hall and fake Diesel all over again. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
so
Chad Hogan or whatever, Kevin Hogan or whatever that was.
right, right. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's pretty much what the release is now. We're tying into storylines and talking a lot about, what's happened at, big crucial cards like the Saudi card, Goldberg beating Bray. And, we had WrestleMania that just passed and there wasn't anything like that. We don't really see anything, where it's a big surprise of a loss, like a Goldberg beating Bray. So, or The Fiend. When you look at WrestleMania and now with Aftermath, I don't really see like a dominant person running through in the storylines over anyone. Do you see anybody like that currently, where there's like this big powerhouse guy that no one can beat? I mean, it was
I
Roman
think it's
for
the J
years.
I think it's the Jacob Fatu push. I think it's Jacob Fatu.
Yeah.
I mean, you, they gotta solidify his dominance. I mean, he did a great showing against LA Knight at WrestleMania, but now he's in a fatal four-way at Backlash with Drew, Damian, and LA Knight, which is really
Yeah.
kind of sketchy considering it's kind of two storylines kind of getting merged into one just for a US title.
Yeah.
I don't know how you kind of work it in because obviously, like, people who love wrestling love the two aspects of it. It's the beginning and the end of the story, you know. So you have this whole story leading up to the match. The match tells you the ending of the story. But these are two stories getting merged into one. And I don't see a clear cut answer to who wins. I want Fatu to retain, you know, because obviously I love Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu on the mic is absolutely one of the best on the mic currently out there too.
Yeah.
Like he is MJF levels good on the mic.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need anybody to back him up. He could be a lone wolf, you know, he's the Samoan werewolf, but he could be the lone wolf in the scenario, and then he could still have everybody around him as all the extra character pieces of the bloodline, and it would still be a good story. Irony enough, where I would have seen this happen would have been Fatu versus Sammy, because that's like the other side of the bloodline, and he can
Yeah.
get his lick back type stuff. And he's
Yeah.
going to go through like him and the Usos and stuff, but you can't really touch the Usos right now because of how he's going his direction as the main event. So it's like I said, there's a lot of muddling storylines, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I
I
got Fatu
agree.
retaining.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, to me, I love Fatu because he's a Cali guy, and just the way he talks like he's from Cali. Like people who know West Coast guys, he talks like that's how he is in real life. Like it's realism.
Yeah.
And I love the realism, of wrestling promos. And you just don't doubt it. People who watched him and followed him on the indies know what kind of a guy the dude is. Like he's a legit badass. And most of that bloodline anyways, they're all badass in their own right. but seeing him come to WWE and showing everything that he has, and knowing that as fans that he's gonna go, he's gonna show a lot more. Like it's really fun to watch him like progress. Like these are the early stages of him becoming this great superstar. I think he's gonna have. I mentioned this on the sports show. Um, I think he's going to have an Undertaker undefeated streak. The next 5 to 7 years, they're going to start talking about he's 5-0 at Mania, he's 7-0 at Mania. Like it's going to start building up, and I think these are the building blocks. He comes out of this four-way, beating these guys, like that makes him look even stronger. Because there's no way they're going to take the title off of him. That would make zero sense. And I guess the only way you could take a title off a guy like him is in a match where he can't get pinned, somebody else does. But I just think that would be insane booking to do that to a guy like Fatu. If anyone could beat these other guys, it's him.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and the two guys are just totally like beefing on each other anyway. So like, what does Jacob Fatu have to do anything with it?
Right.
Like, you had the street match between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre at Mania, and I went and took a piss.
Right. That should have ended
I
it, to
it
be
ha-
honest. That should have ended their feud. Like it's Mania, they're having a street
right,
fight. Like, what more are they gonna have to do? Hell in a Cell? Like the fuck?
right, and it should it that's where I mean, I didn't even watch the whole match. I like I said, I got up and took a piss. It was a good match, don't get me wrong, but I had zero interest in their story.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like storylines that are gonna push and you're gonna keep going and they're gonna make money, like Jacob Fatu's it, not Drew and Damian. Like I know
Yeah.
people love Drew and Damian. They are good wrestlers. They had some of the great storylines, like when Drew was like the Scottish psychopath, and
Yeah.
when Damien was the leader of Judgment Day. But now it's like they're nothing. They're yesterday's news compared to
Yeah.
what's going on out there.
I mean, I like Drew a lot better than I did before because he's kind of leaned on that like shoot type promo, and the stuff he says on Twitter is fucking hilarious.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
Damien,
I love that he's two and I do love that he's 2-0 with taking selfies and texting during Mania matches. Like
right.
that little gimmick is gold. Like
Yeah.
that's the only reason why I got Drew over Damien right now
Yeah.
is because he's doing those goofy things. And like we said, we're guerrilla booking. We're going to
Right.
talk about crazy stuff. Put him and Karrion Cross together. Like, have you seen what Karrion Cross is doing?
Yeah,
Like,
he's
Drew and
killing it right
Karrion
now.
together would be a deadly duo. Like, that would be amazing because
Yeah.
they're just both out of pocket talking guys. And
Yeah.
Cross just finished Bloodsport. Like
Yeah.
I love that WWE is also allowing like indie, like their to do like pseudo indie stuff. So
Yeah.
he just got done doing Bloodsport, and he came off of that looking strong as hell. Drops a pipe bomb promo,
Yeah.
and he's strapped a rocket to him. He's shooting to the moon on his own accord. Like great.
Natty's
Like
doing this shit too. Natty's she's involved in the GCW Bloodsport stuff too. So
yeah,
I like the fact that she's like an OG, and she's there's not really a lot for her. So they're trying to build her up in a different way. And I like that. I like that they're taking shots and working with other companies instead of, Vince trying to just buy every company, you know, and just never let anyone work with anyone. I think that's perfect. And talking about Karrion Cross, he's he's going to get, I think, a massive push here in the next few months
well,
because
absolutely.
you can't deny him. He's so much better than how he was when he first started. And, I think this is probably the best version of him, even when he was with TNA. I think that he's more entertaining. The stuff he says, for the most part, makes sense. And it's always better when the bad guy makes sense than, it's like the whole Kevin was right storyline with Cody. Like, it makes sense. So it kind of questions, like, it turns the good guy into the bad guy a bit. So I think that's the one thing that Karrion Cross has that a lot of these people like, well, how come these guys get released? Well, they're not taking chances. This is clearly all him. He's not getting people like the writers aren't writing this shit for him. He's coming up with this shit himself, and it's clear.
Which which is what you want. Like
Yeah,
you don't want static promos. You want off the cuff promos. But speaking of bad guys
right.
and a fall off, Gunther versus Pat McAfee.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, like, okay, Gunther lost his title. That was expected, right? And then I don't know what five coked out monkeys threw a dart on the board and said, "Oh, let's make Gunther's next storyline attacking Pat McAfee." Like, what?
I think
Like, it makes no sense.
it really doesn't. It doesn't make sense, but at the same time, it's like, are they going to have Gunther chase Jay for the rematch? Because how many times is Jay going to beat Gunther now? It's supposed to be like he pulled up an upset. He never beat him before. So if Gunther goes after him again, you would expect Gunther to get his title back because he's never,
Mhm.
his track record against him is great. Now they can't throw him in some other storyline with another like active wrestler. If they do, it wouldn't really make that much sense. Even though the McAfee thing doesn't make a lot of sense, I kind of get it because he could beat Pat. It doesn't make a difference, beating Pat McAfee. But it's just
For
him
the
just
love of
being
good God,
crazy.
as much as I hate Gunther, Gunther, please win this match.
There's no way he's losing because that would trickle down and fuck up Jay. Because if Pat could beat him first try, doesn't even wrestle full time,
Pat beat Jay. Does
and
Pat
Pat
beat
beats Jay,
Jay?
that's like Pat might as well just beat Jay. Like put the title on him then. You know what I mean? Like it would that wouldn't make sense. So they have to make Gunther win. It might just be a squash. Like Pat might do a couple flips off the top rope or whatever, or maybe jump outside of the ring. But for the most part, it shouldn't be a long match. It should be relatively quick. And I think that it ends like he chokes Pat out, and Pat just passes out, and that's the end of it. And then Pat's probably going to sell it, be gone for like maybe a few weeks. Maybe Pat needs a few weeks off. Maybe that's what it is. But it's kind of to me, it just Gunther's upset that he lost. He's upset because it's been, Pat and Cole have been talking shit a lot about him. They do the whole fucking thing when Jay comes out, and Gunther has always looked over at Pat and is like, what the fuck? And then Pat's still like doing it. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of built up. So it's not like a random thing. Even at the kickoff for Mania, he got in Pat's face a little bit. And then Pat just
So
kind of
maybe it
backed
was
up.
this. Maybe it was the seed we didn't see. Maybe they were
Yeah.
planting the seed we didn't see, and now we have to deep dive back and see all the little like niche little nuances that
Yeah.
Gunther and Pat McAfee have always been going at each other, and this makes more sense.
They have.
But
Yeah.
on the grand scheme of things, to the non-average or to the casual viewer, I would say
Yeah.
this doesn't make sense. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to the casual viewer. You'd have to be a really hard, like deep diver to pay attention to that match. But
Yeah.
I'll watch it because Pat McAfee's a showman. You
Yeah.
know,
He's really good in the ring. And for, I think my only fear is he hasn't really done anything since the NXT stuff, so it's been a while.
WrestleMania 38. I have a note that says Pat hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania 30.
Who did he wrestle at 38?
Austin Theory
Oh, that's right. That's the year. Isn't that the same year that Stone Cold stunned him at the end?
and Vince beat him.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh man, I forgot about that. So yeah, so either
Yeah.
way, that's been a few years. So I don't know what his work ethic is like outside of like the training wise. I don't know what his training ethic is like.
No, I mean his work ethic is like higher than anything. He's
Yeah,
like Ryan Seacrest of the
yeah,
current era right now because he's
he's
just in
everywhere.
everything.
Yeah, he's in everything. He's everywhere.
College football. He's got his own TV show. He does this on Monday nights. He's
Yeah, and then you got
everywhere.
to fly back and do his fucking show. But his training, I don't, I'm sure he's training now, clearly. I hope so, because it's in a few days. Backlash is this Saturday for people who don't know. Um,
5 days away.
5 days away. You can watch it on Peacock, your premium live event.
Live event.
But yeah, I'm hoping that he does okay. But I kind of think because it's been booked so short term, I'm thinking it's just gonna be a squash, honestly. Like few moves and that's gonna be it. And it shouldn't surprise people. And they should build Gunther like this. And maybe he puts him to sleep. This is what I think can happen. He has a relatively quick match with Pat, puts him to sleep. He won't let him go. He's holding on to him. And someone comes out to save him. And maybe it's Jay, maybe it's
I,
somebody else.
I I would really hope it would be a call up from NXT. Like make it be Trick Williams. You know, like make it be somebody who deserves the call up.
Yeah.
You know, make it be Braun Breaker. Like I'm,
Well, no,
you
he's a
know,
bad guy now.
oh yeah, I
He's
mean, like
bad
heel
now.
versus heel wouldn't work, but like Braun Breaker, like a Braun Breaker person style person would be good to go after. You know, be
Who
good to
would
go after
care enough
Gunther.
to save Pat though? Who's like a wrestler that he's good with? I'm trying to think. Like who would come out and save him? Because I think that would be the next feud for Gunther, and that's like an easy way to transition it. Like he's done with Pat, and then this person runs out to save him, and they would have to give a fuck about Pat for the
I don't
most
think
part.
there is one.
I don't think so either. I'm
I
trying to
don't think
think.
there is one
Outside of Jay, like
because
I mean maybe Jay comes out,
I
and
don't
then they
know.
start that
You
up
imagine if it
again.
was Paul. Imagine if it was Paul Logan Paul.
Logan Paul. It's like you're naming all these bad guys.
Listen, I love heels. Heels
I do
heels are
too.
so much more heels are so much more fun to watch, even though the the face will essentially always get what they deserve. But the heels are always more fun to watch because you want to see like what they're going to do next. Like how shitty can they get to
Yeah,
somebody? You know?
I love a good heel.
Yeah.
I
I
love a
mean,
good heel.
speaking of heels, all right. Speaking of
Yeah.
heels, we can keep this pushing because we have the fastest heel turn in all of promo wrestling. It didn't even last 24 hours. Becky Lynch versus Lyra Valkyria for the women's title at Backlash.
I mean, I think Becky's
She
gonna
came
win
out as a
that.
face, won the tag titles, lost the tag titles the next night, and turned on her.
I think, and that was just kind of insane booking to be honest, because it really doesn't make that doesn't really make it didn't really make a lot of sense anyways. But I honestly think that Becky's gonna win the title. I think Lyra's good, but I just there's some about her that doesn't really like pull me in, you know? It just something's missing. And I think with Becky, I have a feeling that she's gonna find her way into, Seth's group with Paul and with Braun.
That's all I want. That's all I want.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, we don't have that on our notes, but the name they gave them is absolutely horrible. Like
what's
it's
the name?
it's Trio of Terror.
Is that the official name or is that rumored name?
No, I think I've seen it officially. Let me re
Trio of
let me
Terror.
anchor that down real quick. Yeah,
The
Trio of Terror.
the
It's so
tots.
awful.
The tots. That'd be great for Christmas time. They just go around toys for tots. Tots. Can't be it. I was under the impression that they're going to add somebody else.
Trifecta of Terror. Sorry.
What is it? Trifecta of terror?
Trifecta of Terror. Yep.
My trifecta didn't hit for the Kentucky Derby this weekend, so that's the last word I
Yeah.
want to hear. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just weird. I think Becky's gonna win. The Add a little bit more interest to that title. It's a title she's never won before because it didn't exist, prior than a few months back. But I think she's gonna take it. What do you think?
Like he's gonna win it. Like I think if she does win it, I believe if she does win it, does she Grand Slam?
I think she's already a Grand Slam, isn't she? I mean, she's won the tag titles. She's won women's
Oh
titles.
no, would it be a double Grand Slam? Is what I'm saying.
I mean,
I don't know. I'll have to research that one for next week.
well, I mean, what women's titles they have? They only had just the.
Well,
She's had the
technically she would.
NXT.
So technically, it would be the reiteration of the Grand Slam because, well, technically she won Grand Slam because then she would need the new U.S. title too. So she would have to go
Right.
get the two middle titles. So maybe they're just belt collecting her for the middle titles too.
Well, I think it would be like if she's not a Grand Slam. I mean, what she's won NXT, she's won a women's title, she's won the tag titles. So I mean, what else? What else do they have? I mean, now they have the Intercontinental on one brand and then US on the other, but I mean, I don't think there's anything else that I mean, you could I guess Money in the Bank. Didn't she win Money in the Bank or no?
Yes.
And in Royal Rumble, did she ever win a Rumble? I know Charlotte
I
Flair
believe
won a
so.
couple
Money in
times.
the Bank, she did. She won Money in the Bank COVID era.
Yeah, COVID era. If you ever want
because
to,
she was also because she was also pregnant because she gave the money in the bank. She oh no,
no,
Oscar
that's
won the money in the bank. She held the title.
well, no, Becky was the champ because I remember like she had to leave because she was pregnant, and I remember like they had that thing with her and Asuka on Raw
Yeah.
where she said that they couldn't wrestle or whatever.
So her
But
money in the bank was
that COVID era Money in the Bank was actually pretty good. That's the one where they threw Ray off the building, right? They threw him off the top of the building. Wasn't that the COVID Money in the Bank?
yeah. He got thrown off the building.
That was actually really good. Like I think they should have did a lot more of those. Like the AJ and Taker theatrical match was
Uh,
good.
Becky Lynch has won a Money in the Bank in 2023.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, I think she was champion, and then she was pregnant. And she had to relinquish the
Yeah,
title. I think
that's
that's what
where
it
I
was.
she had to relinquish it to Oscar. That's where I got it mixed up.
Yeah.
I that's the Money in the Bank I thought she won.
And everybody, when you're watching this show, please fact check us in the comments below. If we say something that, we don't always get it right. So correct us, please. We welcome that. What else? What else we got for Backlash? There's only a few matches.
Randy Orton versus John Cena.
Okay. What do you think? How do you think this is gonna go?
Well, Cena has to retain. Has to. Like it would absolutely one, like you just said earlier. If another person beats, like you said, if Pat beats Gunther, it pushes Jay's story down further along.
Right.
And then um if if Orton beats Cena for the title, what does that say about Cody?
Right. Exactly.
Like it just doesn't make sense. I have a feeling Orton wins, but it's gonna be a callback to Cena versus Orton in 2020 in 2009, where the ref was involved and Orton hit the ref and Cena won.
Mm.
I think Cena does the heel move and hits the ref and then Orton wins by disqualification, but Cena retains.
I mean,
I love it because this shitty version of Cena I actually like. I hate John Cena.
right.
I hate John Cena.
Right.
Okay. He's a Hulk Hogan 2.0. I'm staring into the fans right now.
Right. It's terrifying.
But this version, I love. I love this version because regardless of what he's doing, he's just a dick.
Yeah.
Like he's
It's
a
pretty
dick.
much that's all he is. That's his
He's just a
gimmick.
dick.
That's the dick.
He's a dick, and I love it. I love it. Like I just want him. I'm waiting for him to go out there. It's like fuck them kids. That's all I
Right.
want. If he said that, I would go buy a John Cena spinner belt. If he went out on stage and said fuck them kids, that's all I would want.
The merch would go
Give me that.
crazy. The merch would
Oh
go
my god.
crazy.
I mean, I know he can't because of all the make a wishes he's done, but still, it's an John Cena the human versus John Cena. Well, I mean, he's saying he's a human, he's not a heel, but John Cena the character versus John Cena the reality is just it's just what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we had glimpses of him. We've actually had glimpses of him being a real dick before in real life. Which is he actually playing himself? Because trust me, if anybody watches anything, somebody watched the Cena scenes for Total Divas, where he was an
Yeah.
absolute dickhead to fucking the Bella Twins. Like,
Yeah.
oh my god! I mean, he's like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
don't know how. It was so great. Like, it was great. Like, we saw
Yeah.
glimpses of it. Like,
Like,
but
is this how he really is?
right. So am I seeing real Cena right now on in the ring? Is this
I,
the real Cena? Because if that's the real Cena, sign me the fuck up.
yeah.
Like,
He's just a
but
dick. That's the whole thing with his gimmick. He's just a dick. Honestly, dude, like there's no way he's losing. I think they really built it up because it's in, Randy's hometown is in St. Louis, and in front of his family. And so that makes John, when he beats him, it's gonna be like more like heelish. Like he's gonna probably look over at his family. He's gonna be at front row. and John's just gonna like stare at him, or with that fucking face that he makes, that frowny face.
So I believe, yeah, I do think that WWE is notorious for this, that you never see a wrestler win in their hometown. Like a few occasions, but more often than not, they lose in their hometown. Like it's got to be like written in their contracts. Like you, whenever you show up in hometown, you got to lose because you win everywhere else. You know,
Right.
but more often than not, I guarantee you there is a statistic out there somewhere where if you looked it up, it says that WWE wrestlers lose like X amount percentages when they're in their hometown versus when they are in other cities.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what the situation is. Like, if it depends on what's happening in the match, and if it's a Raw, obviously house shows they will always win. But like, if it's like a pay-per-view or whatever, or Raw, I don't know. I think it's kind of 50-50. That's actually that's an interesting stat because I never really thought about it. Like, if how often they win, because you expect them to, because they're in their hometown. It's almost kind of like they're not going to get pinned with their own finishing move. Like you never see that shit fucking happen. It's like Kenny Omega getting hit with his own move and kicking out at one when no one's ever kicked out of his move ever. But with the Cena match, there's no way that he's losing. I think there's going to be some funny stuff at the end. We might maybe because they've talked about Travis Scott, he's been training to wrestle. So maybe he runs in again like he did at Mania and helps Cena again. I don't think we see The Rock because The Rock has, been talking way too much lately. And, it doesn't sound like he's going to be involved just yet. But I think that we're going to get some funny stuff at the end. But Cena's going to end up walking out with the title still. What do you see?
So here you go.
Let's see.
This is literally 10 days old. This is talking about post Vince booking. Okay, this is post Vince booking. 1 year after booking where Vince's superstars fare about average at home, in 2019 saw a sharp increase of wins for hometown and home state wrestlers. Out of 76 matches recorded in a hometown, 44 wrestlers have won and 32 have lost.
And where is that from? What's the source? Let's
Uh,
credit the source.
I've never heard of this. Uh, AIPT, never heard of it. What is this? Sources, whatever AIPT is.
Okay.
AIPTcomics.com.
There we go. That's interesting. I mean, like I said, it's close. I just, it's all.
Google AI often said that it's a great booking strategy to lose often in your hometown to create. It says WWE often plans for wrestlers to lose in their hometown, especially if they are champions or high profile stars. This can be done to create drama, make an opportunity to look strong, and add layers of conflict to the storyline. While losing on the home turf isn't guaranteed, it is a common booking strategy.
Okay. Well, we'll
So,
we'll see. I think that
and
strategy is going to be in effect
it
on
pulled
Saturday.
sources from What Culture, Sportskeeda, and Wikipedia. So
Okay.
the AI the Google AI pretty often used three sources to pull up that statement.
Okay.
So and Sportskeeda and What Culture are pretty uh
Yeah, they're good.
wrestler
What culture has
positive.
been around? Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty wrestler positive. So for it to accumulate that kind of concept is pretty common.
Yeah. All right.
So
Well, so we both agree Cena's going out with the dub. He's leaving with the
yes,
championship. Uh, so
yes,
that's
yes.
so that's Backlash. We're definitely going to cover that next week. The results, talk about what happened. Um, One thing I did want to bring up is Hogan's new promotion. I don't really want to talk too much about it, just because fuck Hulk Hogan, right? But
Yeah,
um,
like okay,
oh, here it comes. Here it comes. One episode in, that's it. Cancel immediately.
I'm a huge
Jesus
Hulk
fuck. Here it
Hogan
goes.
fan. I'm a huge Hulk Hogan fan. I am not a
Brother.
Terry Bollea fan. Okay, that like it's the Chris Benoit theory, like Chris Benoit the wrestler versus Chris Benoit the human. You know, wow, yeah, that's kind of like very wrong. The guy did do what he did, but if you look at his business acumen,
Hmm.
Hogan was awful. Hogan was an awful businessman. He did
Right.
awful things in the company, but Hulk Hogan, the character, was amazing. Like you can't deny how electric his character was. When we were growing up and seeing Hogan come out, you were ecstatic, and he would
Yeah. Just
and you
juiced
just
up. Yeah.
you felt that way about that guy. Like and it's funny that I say that because I hate John Cena. You know, because that's all John Cena was repackaged. He was a repackaged better version of Hulk Hogan,
Right.
which I don't like seeing repackaged concepts. I'd rather see unique concepts. But if this and that's why I'm kind of segueing into it, because what Hogan is doing is unique.
Right.
That's what I was trying to get at. Like Hogan's new promotion is unique. And I like I'm big on freestyle wrestling. I used to be a freestyle wrestler. I used to wrestle in high school. I used to be a scholastic wrestler. I love mat wrestling, like technical mat wrestling. It's really cool. Do I like that he's called it Real American? No, I hate that. That is stupid
Yeah.
because that's just using his name as a sake of getting it across. Do
Selling
I
beer
like
too.
Eric? Do I like that Eric Bischoff is? Do I like that Eric Bischoff's a part of it? Eric Bischoff is great when it comes to promoting something. So you need to take that into consideration that he actually does have a good businessman behind that. He's not Vince Russo. Vince Russo was the worst one. Let me get that fact straight.
So here's the thing. Okay. It's not really necessarily about Hulk Hogan or anything like that. Well, Joe disciplines off camera. Get out of the camera,
Yeah.
shot kid. Come on, we're working. No, here's the thing. Hulk Hogan, very racist guy. He kind of ruined his aura for a lot of
Harry Bolello was the racist, not Hulk Hogan.
either. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he's not walking around calling himself Terry Bollea. He's walking around still calling himself the gimmick
Oh, of
Hulk Hogan.
course not. He's got to run on his wrestling gimmicks name in order to make.
Well, either
So
way,
I get it.
his beer probably tastes like shit, and his beer is also called Real American Beer. And as you can tell, when he came out and the fans booed him, a while back, it just the fans aren't going to embrace this. Now you're talking about freestyle wrestling. There isn't a big market for that, especially if it's run by a guy like Hulk Hogan, who's
Hmm.
not known to be, hold on, who's not known to be a
Okay. Okay.
freestyle
Yes.
wrestler. He's not known for that. They brought in the Izzy guy. Eric Bischoff's not known for that. He's known for running WCW and having a podcast now. Hogan hasn't done anything in the ring for years, and obviously he's not going to get in there and do it freestyle anything. To be fair, when Hogan wrestled in Japan, that's the best Hulk Hogan you ever can fucking see because he killed it when he was in Japan. He wrestled way differently. He did the strong style. He was great. So if we have something like this and it's like kind of like that, blood sport, if it's similar to something like that, um, it could only be successful if Hogan would come out and apologize about everything that's happened and just put it out there instead of trying to cover it up and saying that, no one's booing me, all my fans love me, like just still being delusional. At least come out, own the shit that you've said and done. Not saying everyone's going to forgive him or anything like that, but at least you take accountability and instead of just coming out with this promotion, that what kind of TV deal are they going to get? What kind of fans are they going to get? Who's wrestling are for the company? Is this going to be an actual like blood sport where it's like, scripted, but they still get down? Or is this going to be fucking like UFC where this is real fucking fights? So a lot of it
So
hasn't come out
it,
yet.
so if it's freestyle wrestling, it can't be scripted. In a sense, it can't be scripted because you don't know what your opponent's doing unless they call it out, right? So it's a lot of chain wrestling. It's a lot of mat wrestling. So, from what Hogan has said, it's not competing with UFC, which means if he's saying that, he's looking at it, it's more of a competitive thing. So, I have a feeling what they'll probably end up doing is some cool bracket style, like he'll put like 8 wrestlers in it, four over here, and then they'll kind of, tournament style it in to handle how the real winner is. And as they move along, they move up in the ranks, and then probably have them try to cut a promo of some sort, some guided promo, which would be pretty cool, you know. But the problem with that is that's a lot of risk and reward, because if you have a guy who's really good on the mic but can't wrestle that well in a freestyle match, he's going to get buried very quick. And then you lose one of your biggest mouthpieces. So I think he's got a good concept, because freestyle wrestling is a very high untapped market, but it's one of the highest watched things you watch during the Olympics. Wrestling and swimming during their time in the Olympics are some of the highest watched or highest viewed events.
Right. But at the same time, the Olympics are every 4 years. So, and people are supporting their country. They're not necessarily supporting that sport. So they're going to pull for, you know, USA or whatever country they're pulling for. But we're talking like if this, let's just say this again, the details haven't came out yet of how it's going to work. But if this comes out every week, who's going to sit there and want to watch freestyle wrestling every week? If it's just that.
So here's how I would do it. Small streamability. Rewatchability is great. I would post it on YouTube. I would record it live on YouTube and repost it on. I would have you subscribe to get the live view on YouTube or Twitch. And then the VOD comes out a day later, so that you get people subscribing so you can see the action firsthand. And then you get the rewatchability. Or you kind of do it like, if the show is on a Friday, you can subscribe to watch it on Friday. And then the show doesn't come out till like the VOD doesn't come out till like Wednesday. So they can edit it and package it a little better and kind of crunch it down.
Mm.
Throw some voice sponsorships in there, throw some sponsorships on the mat. It don't matter. Have ad work go through it. It'll work out fine. Subscribers get ad free. You could definitely build it on a YouTube platform and then build up your viewership that way. I mean, again, the name alone from Hulk Hogan is going to draw people. As much as people hate him, his name is a draw. You know, so that's how I would do it. Triller TV. That's where
Mhm.
GCW does theirs. A bunch of wrestling promotions do it on Triller TV. Um, so you can subscribe. Just get a subscription service to kind of boost your thing, just as much as we pay for Peacock. You
But
know,
then but they need some
or
stars.
Netflix.
They need stars to be a part of it because Hogan's obviously not going to be like a part of it like that. He's going to be there. He'll probably be like the general manager with Bischoff, and he'll definitely be on the episodes if they have episodes. Like again, have no idea how they're going to do this, but I'm assuming if they're going off the same type of content that other companies are putting out, maybe they do a show once a month. I mean that I tried that once, but
You ready?
um,
You ready for this? Ready for this kind of bridge the gap? Ready?
let's hear it.
Abel Stevenson.
Didn't he go to jail? Didn't he just get arrested
No,
for some shit?
did he?
I'm pretty sure. I thought he got arrested, put in jail for something. I'm almost positive. Unless it was a fever dream.
He had sexual assault allegations in 2019.
But I think there was something that fucking got him in jail. I mean, that on its own, like that, I think that was part of it. I think it's coming back, and I think that's the shit that he's in trouble with right now.
No, that was it. He hasn't been in, that was it. That was from 2019.
Let me look. Hold on a second.
And he's not facing criminal charges.
Okay, let's take a look here.
I just looked it up.
Okay.
Abel Stevenson was arrested under suspicion of criminal sexual conduct in June of 2019, along with his former teammate from Minnesota. However, they were later released without charges due to insignificant evidence. Stevenson said his teammate. Yeah. Let's see, arrested. So I don't see anything. Yeah, no, there's nothing about him being arrested unless it was talking about the sexual assault allegations.
Maybe. And see, that's the other thing too. It's like you could say get him, you could get Brock, and then all the shit going on with Brock. There's always like stuff that's tied on to these guys that, people, we're in a social media age, like you right now, like you're searching people. Like it's hard to promote these
Looking up
guys
like
that have
I'm looking
problems.
up freestyle wrestlers, like top freestyle wrestlers right now.
But it's like most people, when we talk about casual fans, like no one knows who the fuck any of those people are. You could name off fucking any name in freestyle. If they didn't win like a gold medal, no one's going to know who the fuck these guys are. And they're not going to sign a whole bunch of gold medalists and then expect them to cut a promo. Cutting a promo is very, very difficult. And not everyone can do it. You could practice for years and just never get it. You're just fucking not natural. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see like what fucking
I mean,
how he
if
does
I'm
it, but
him, I would talk to Kurt Angle,
to do
bring Kurt
what
Angle into
though?
it.
To do what?
He could be a face, like a Dana White face commentator.
Nah, I don't know. I just think that he's swimming upstream, man, without a paddle. I'm not really buying it. I mean,
I mean,
I'm gonna
I got some names here, but they look like they're older people. Some names like a Kyle Snyder, a Dan Taylor, a Kyle Drake, a lot of Kyles.
yeah, you got me named Kyle.
Jordan
That's it.
Burroughs,
Want to freestyle
Kyle and
wrestle? I
Kyle versus Kyle.
yeah,
I mean, Drake Kyle's a two-time Olympic medalist. He won a bronze in 2020 and a silver in 2016.
and can't draw a
Kyle
dime
Snyder is a two-time Olympic medalist. He got a gold in 2016 and a silver in 2020.
and can't draw two dimes. None of these guys could draw. You could name off everybody. What I'm saying is that at the end of the day, it's going to be tough for him to want people to watch his something that he's backing. I don't know how his shitty beer that he's plugging all the time is doing. I don't know if the sales for that is any good, but it's
Let
not
me
like
hold on.
Stone Cold's beer because Stone Cold's beer is delicious.
Oh yeah. His double IPA is kind of crap.
I haven't had that one.
Hold on. I'm looking up the review on Untapped. Untapped is a app that you can use to look up beer reviews.
There you go.
It's
Shout
really
out
hilarious.
Untapped. Sponsor us, Untapped.
I actually I'm not wearing it, but I do have some of their merch.
Maybe they'll send us some free merch.
So it gets an average 3.2 on Untapped.
3.2 out of 5, I'm assuming.
Yes.
That would be very bad if it was up to 10. That's still bad for 5. That's very bad.
At 3.2 out of 4,451 ratings.
That's a very bad rating. So his beer is shitty, like I
It's
figured.
above average. That's above average.
3.2 is if someone says rate a movie 1 to 5 and they say it's a 3.2, that sucks. That is not good. 4 or more is fine.
Well, the highest average is 4.78.
If
There's
you're
no pure 5.0.
if you were doing DoorDash and your rating was a 3.2, would you be considered a good dasher?
No, you don't. You actually get deactivated after 4.2.
There you go. Hogan's deactivated.
uh,
Yeah, 3.2 is a
Like toppling Goliath is up there. Let's see here. Let me scroll down
3.2.
here.
What a,
These are the top beers right now. I'm looking at
drink,
471, 47.
I'm gonna drink this beer. It's a 3.2. Try it.
No,
I'll stick.
what are you drinking? You're drinking what? A Bud
I'm
Light?
drinking a Bud Light.
You want to know what Bud Light gets you? Hold on.
It'll probably be low because if you're
Oh,
comparing it,
it's fucking good. They're
yeah,
fucking dog water, bro.
it is, but it's cheap.
It's kind of good. I know we're off. I know we're
And
off.
let's
Shoot
turn
here,
into a
but
beer
still.
podcast here all of a sudden. Thanks, Hulk Hogan, you fucking piece of
Yeah.
shit, racist.
Bud Light gets a 2.3.
There you
Just out
go.
of
And Hogan's is
so
not much more than that. So what does that say? I think people who drink
yeah.
Bud Light aren't saying like, "Oh, it's the greatest beer," because there's so many other beers that are far superior because they taste better, but they're also way more expensive. So it's like, but
Also, also you're drinking a macro beer. You're not drinking a niche beer. But
right,
I,
it's
at the
the
end, of the day, It's a sponsorship. Real American Beer is a
Bro,
sponsorship for the wrestling thing. Like they made that their top sponsor. So good on him though for self-promoting inside his own company, but
yeah, good for
backing
him.
his being his own sponsor, like doubling down on yourself. Like go ahead, double
Right.
down on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. You double down on yourself. Actually, you've quadrupled down on yourself. You have 4 different podcasts, and you're at all 4 of them.
Ah, yeah. Someone's got to run him.
But just saying. By the way, that's a plug. That's a plug for Look It's a Podcast. There's 4 podcasts. We have us, Gorilla Booking. We have the Final Four. We have Yapping. And then we have the undisclosed new one that's going to be coming out real soon that talks about King and Queens. King
Yeah.
of Queens.
We've actually talked
So,
about, I mentioned it on the sports podcast.
oh, have you?
But potentially there might be
All
five.
here
Might be
on
five,
Look It's a
actually.
Podcast Network.
There we go. That's a good commercial right there.
You're
But
welcome.
potentially five. Potentially five with the
Oh,
idea of the stand on business. So
oh yeah.
potentially five. But so what was that? Quadruple down. I don't know.
Yeah.
That
No,
sounds like a good
quintuple.
sounds like a good burger. Quadruple
No.
down. Okay, so
Oh wait. I mean, we're 2 fat asses. Do you remember the double down KFC sandwich?
oh yeah, dude, I made a YouTube. There's still a YouTube video. If you look if you go on my channel, there is an old YouTube IRL video that I made when I was doing the Drunk Monkey TV stuff, and I was eating a double down. This was like fucking like 15 years ago or whatever the fuck it was, and it's just delicious. I bought another one to take home with me. That's how much I loved them at the time.
Bro, they're heart attack sandwiches, but they were delicious.
They were great. They were great. I haven't eaten one since, but
But anyway,
so
off topic, back on topic.
yeah, back on topic. We'll see what happens with Hogan stuff. I'll definitely keep an eye out and watch at least the first episode to see how it looks. But expectation is not very high that it's going to be very successful. And Hogan said he expects it to be bigger than WWE and UFC. So he may not say that he's in competition with them, but he's expecting to be bigger than both of them, which is pretty fucking crazy.
And again, it's going to be hard for him to do that because considering, excuse me, WWE is the biggest sports entertainment product when it comes to that side of the world. Because if we go into sports entertainment, we're going to talk about NFL, MLB, and all that other stuff. That's a completely different monster. But we're talking like wrestling, mixed martial arts,
I mean,
combat
it's
fighting, I guess,
TKO. It's
boxing.
TKO.
Yeah, yeah, it's TKO.
Yeah.
But I mean, like boxing, even boxing, like all those over there are like that corner. WWE is the biggest,
Yeah,
because
by far. It's not
yeah.
lying
So
close.
like yeah, and the fact is that you have all that trickling down. It's gonna be said, you know, WWE's Hulk Hogan has his own thing. It's gonna go WWE's Hulk Hogan, WCW's Eric
Yeah.
Bischoff. That's how
Yeah.
they're going to draw it.
Yeah.
They're going to use their call back to Matt Cardona. You're going to ride your name in order to become successful.
Yeah. He's not doing Terry Bollea presents Real American Wrestling or whatever the fuck it's called. But yeah,
I mean,
so we'll
that's
see.
Terry Bollea, real American racism, but
Right. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So let's end the show with one last topic. We're gonna talk a little AEW, and they've been losing the ratings to NXT every single week for a while now. And I'm going to say this. I used to be a huge fan of AEW in the beginning. I loved AEW. I liked what they were doing. I liked that it was started by, the BTE guys, because I used to watch BT a lot, and I thought it was great. How they blurred the lines with WWE, and it was like it was a good vibe. It really, like you said this earlier, when we started the show. It's a good time to be alive with wrestling right now. It's great with wrestling. Wrestling is cool again. And it was kind of like that during that time because it was interesting. They got Jericho. The matches were good. And then somewhere along the line, for me as a fan, it got boring. I because I used to just watch. every single week Dynamite. Every week, every week. I wouldn't watch like Rampage or anything like that or Collision. I would always watch Dynamite for sure and then watch the pay-per-views. Now, I'll watch a little bit of Dynamite and I change it. Unless there's something big happening, which doesn't happen that often anymore that I can see. Excuse me. And then pay-per-views, I haven't watched a pay-per-view in God knows how long. So I'm sure I missed out on some good matches. I heard the Will Ospreay cage match was really good, so I know there's some good matches there. So I'm not going to discredit there isn't any good matches, but for me as a fan, watching that show every week, I just can't. NXT is by far better to watch because the storylines are a lot more entertaining. AEW is basically being controlled by Mercedes Hogan, winning every title, never wanting to lose. Like she's just, it used to be Tony Storm was like the big thing. Now, her gimmicks kind of ran its course. And I have a viral tweet now, which I sent to you yesterday.
I
Um,
saw.
you know,
Has it gone up since 11,000
I
since
think it's
last
still at
night?
it's still 11. I think I'm getting some I get likes still. I think I have 150 likes to it. But I'm going to be putting this broadcast underneath that too. So all the people who fucking want to talk shit or whatever and think they know about wrestling, you all are more than welcome to come on here and we could debate AEW all you want.
Me and Server love shit talkers. Like,
Yes.
if you want to come talk shit, just don't come personal, come correct.
Yeah.
That's all we ask.
Makes
You
sense
get
when you
personal, it's going to
talk.
be a different more. But if you come correct and talk shit, oh my God, we will be your friend.
And you can also let me know
That,
when your birthday is, and I can actually help you out there with a nice friendly roast too. So that's a little
oh
side
yeah.
thing. But so do you think there's a lack of creativity with AEW in the ring? 'Cause I know you love AEW, you've been to shows and different things. I don't know if you still love AEW like you used to, but what do you think is causing the ratings to go down where they're at now?
So I feel I'm more of a fan of wrestlers now than the overall product. Like, I'll turn on AEW if the Hurt Business is on. I'll turn AEW if Will Ospreay's on. I'm not going to turn AEW on for the Death Triangle.
Right, yeah.
I'm not going to turn on AEW for Orange Cassidy. While Orange Cassidy's gimmick was like really cool in the beginning, it's like
Yeah.
ran its course. AEW doesn't have the best storylines, but they have the best story wrestling. And I think that's the difference. I think WWE has perfected the wrestling drama, is what I would call it. Like soap opera. They are a wrestling soap opera. They've perfected the recipe. And you can't imitate it. You can't, because then you just become a WWE byproduct. So how do you stand out and be successful? And I think AEW's got the right formula. I just think we've plateaued a little bit and we don't know where the next step up is. So, like, you have Swerve Strickland over there who WWE dropped the ball on, because Swerve
Yeah.
Strickland is absolutely a freaking monster in the ring, monster on the microphone. He's so good. You
Yeah.
got Hangman, who's good. Hangman's good, but he's a little rougher on the edges, but his character overall is good. Will Ospreay is the most down to earth dude I've ever met, and I will, wherever he goes, I don't care. Like, I'm a Will Ospreay fan. Like, I am a Will Ospreay mark. I will always be that. Okada's a great wrestler, but I watched Okada wrestle. Forget who he wrestled, but it was it Huvitude Hoovy? Was it Hoovy? It was an awful match. It was an
Yeah.
absolutely awful match. Okada's known to be one of the best Japanese wrestlers out there. And I
Hmm.
think that the money's got to him. I think he's not playing up to, I think he's kind of going the Hogan route a little bit, which is kind of funny.
They've dumbed him down
He's got
too.
the,
They've made him silly.
yeah,
Like they made him silly and goofy.
like he gives the middle finger in the middle of the ring. Like, okay, so you're trying to get heel over there? Okay, it makes no sense. You know, like Eddie Kingston, I miss Eddie Kingston. He's not around. So,
Yeah.
like, where the hell did he go? You know,
Isn't he
but
hurt right now? I thought he's been
yeah, he's
hurt.
hurt, but like
Yeah.
he could still do stuff. He's still use utilize Eddie Kingston's mouth, bro. He's amazing. He kind of reminds me of like if East Coast and West Coast hit Fatu versus Kingston. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Sell me the book.
Yeah.
I just want them to talk to each other for an hour.
Yeah.
I
That'd be really
popcorn.
good. Yeah. That'd be really good.
Yeah, like East Coast versus West Coast type stuff.
Yeah.
New York versus I think he's not from Compton, right? Fatu's
Who?
not from Compton,
No, he's like Northern Cali.
Northern Cali. But yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You get it. Like it would be
Yeah.
like that would be amazing. I mean, there's so many wrestlers that are good in like MJF is great on the mic, and like I said, he's working with the Hurt Syndicate. Sorry, so like that's
Right.
gold because he's got MVP's a good mouthpiece. They got the tag team titles over there. They're looking so strong, and then you got MJF trying to weasel his way into the Hurt Syndicate. It's so good. But like I said, anything else outside of that, the storylines are kind of stale. I mean,
Yeah.
you got you got the BTE fighting each other. So
Yeah.
you got the elite kind of fighting each other, which is okay. I mean, Kevin Knight's an up and comer that's really good in AEW. If you like to watch actual wrestling and not the promo side of it or the drama side of it, AEW is where it's at because you got some really good wrestlers out there. Like go watch the Will Ospreay Kevin Knight tournament match. It was so good. Like you knew Kevin was going to lose, but overall the whole match was absolutely great to watch. It was an overall great match. Takeshna, I like Takeshna. Don Callis family, like, but you got Kyle Fletcher over there. You got Josh Alexander just joined them, the Walking Weapon from TNA.
Right.
Like he just joined the Don Callis family. Like there's some good stuff going over there, but you're really over there to watch the wrestling because there's not much like segments in the middle, or they're just in the middle cutting promos in the ring, wasting 15 minutes of airtime. No, you get a lot more wrestling. And I think people look away from that because they want a good solid mixture of them both. I think people want a good solid mixture, but you don't
Yeah.
have enough players to have them cut seething promos. Like you can only put MJF against Offspray so many times, and MJF's going to cook them on the mic. I mean, like
Yeah.
Osprey's good on the mic, but the
Not like
styles
that
just
though.
don't.
It's different. See,
Yeah, it
here's my
doesn't add
thing.
up.
Here's my thing. The AEW, when I say AEW, just Tony Khan. I'll just say Tony Khan. He seems more focused on a few things. He seems more focused on big debuts to get that big pop. That's one of the main things he loves to have. Like he's going to have a few of them because some of the people who just got released from WWE is definitely going to go to AEW. A few of them. Some might go to TNA or work the indies or just.
I think most of them are going to go to TNA
So I mean,
because like what was it? Indy Hartwell just went over to TNA. So
yeah, and they still have a working relationship with WWE, so it's almost like they kind of still have their foot in the door a little bit. So it's either way. So he might get a few people going to AEW. So he loves debuts, and that's what he seems to draw a lot of attention on. Big announcements, and this guy's debuting. He also loves to have titles, new titles. We have this title, we have this title, and ROH has this title. And he loves having tournaments. Motherfucker loves to have tournaments like every other month, it seems like, and just run through fucking weeks worth of tournament content, which at the end of the day really doesn't mean shit, honestly. I don't know why they brought back ROH. I think they should have just let it die, even though it was great when it was running at its best, and it died for a reason. It's not helping anybody's cause by being, ROH world champion. It's not drawing any new audience in to have fucking ROH around. I mean, the ratings speak for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't help. You're just a liability having fucking another company that they purchased that really was already dead in the water. Like, what's the point of even having it?
so so when you go to an AEW event, I've been to everything AEW except for a pay-per-view. When you go to an AEW event, you get a lot of stuff. So when you go to watch Dynamite, it's a live show. So what they do is they give you a lot of live content. So it's very, very fast paced. It's always going on. You get maybe like one dark match in the beginning, and then you get a good like yeah talk through from the main characters at the end. When you go to a collision booking, you get two shows. You get you get an ROH show and a collision show. So you get two shows in one when you go to collision. So you're not losing content. You're getting two absolute different aired shows for the price of one. So it's actually better to go to a collision booking because you get a lot of different styles of wrestling, a lot of different characters to come out and wrestle. You don't get that on Dynamite, but you get the chance of being at a live show, man. So it's like you kind of get like a 50-50. Depends on what you're looking for. But having the ROH champion defend their title on a Dynamite, that's stupid. Like, save that for ROH. Save that for the people who go to Collision because then they get something special when they're there and it makes it worthwhile. Don't don't waste the titles. But I get it. Sometimes you have to do that to promote saying, "Hey, we have ROH." Sometimes you have to be able to sit there and say, "Hey, we have something. Let's showcase it." You
Right.
know, it's a good showcase thing.
But here's the thing:
So
everything you said is correct, but none of that benefits the ratings for AEW or anything that they're doing because sure you could go and get watch more wrestling if you go to Collision and that's great and you get your money's worth because that's fine, but at the same time that's not helping AEW in the ratings. It's not helping ROH. I mean, do they even have a show? Do they have like a YouTube show or anything? Just ROH?
yeah, it's a streaming service called Honor Club. It's
Okay.
on there every Thursday.
So how successful is that? I mean, who's really
Well,
watching Honor Club? Like, I can't miss that.
let me see if I could. Let me see if I pull up the subscriptions.
I can't miss Honor Club. Gotta subscribe to that every month. Get to watch the superstars of Ring of Honor.
So
Honor Club. How much is it? Like $10? It would be a good deal if they get like
uh,
to watch the old ROH stuff, which they should. I mean, they own it. AEW owns it.
let's subscribe. Let's subscribe. So when you go to watchroh.com, right?
Hmm.
You get a lot of episodes. There's up to 112 Honor Club episodes. You get a lot of wrestling pay-per-views. They're all on there for free when you pay for the service. Jesus Christ. There's a picture of Kevin Steen and El Generico's on here too.
So I mean, that's what I'm saying. They have the old shit on there, right? Like you can watch their old matches and stuff.
And then oh yeah, and the new stuff too.
Well, the new stuff is
Let's sign
fucking
up.
lame. No one cares about the new stuff. If you buy that, you're
Oh,
buying it to watch the old legendary ROH matches, like Samoa Joe and Punk, and you're buying it for that. If you're able to watch that, if you're not, like, why would you even care about the new shit? Like, nothing's even happening. No one's even talking about it. That's the one thing with the internet wrestling community. They talk about all the things that are really important in wrestling constantly. I never once see anything on my Twitter feed where someone's talking about how great ROH is and hey, have you watched this match in ROH? Like, never seen that.
it's $9.99 per month.
But what I'm saying is
Has an annual cost of $119.99.
you get the old stuff, right?
You get you get the live stream ROH events as well as the special events like tributes. The subscription is $9.99 and it includes all the archive, the weekly episode, and the pay-per-views. for $9.99.
So the
And
archive is the most.
fast math. Hold on. Let me fast math this for you. Let me math this real fast. They currently have 15,000 subscriptions.
Doesn't seem like a lot.
It makes $150,000 a month.
That doesn't seem like a lot because I bet he paid a lot more for ROH, like to purchase actual
Uh,
catalog and company and all that stuff.
$4 million.
How much? How much
Less than
did?
$4 million.
Okay.
Less than $4 million.
Hmm. I don't know. They should cut it. They should get rid of it. I think that
Supposedly, it could have been. Supposedly, it could be less than a million.
what they should do, and maybe don't.
Someone saying it was less than a million. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Here's here's the thing. AEW should just have like their own streaming service with ROH along with it. And you just buy it on there. Just like WWE has
Well,
WCW stuff
you
on
pay for
there and
two. You pay for two. See, that's their trick. That's how they
yeah,
make
but
their money. They rake you
no
in for
one's
two.
buying both though, for real. Like you said only 15,000 subscribers. That's not a lot in my opinion.
Well, so if you want to watch AEW, you watch it on Max. It simulcasts on Max. So
Yeah.
how many?
And they never released the max numbers by the way. But
1.169 million people.
no.
I'm sorry, 116.9 million people have a Max subscription.
Right. But here's the key thing. Before you get into any more numbers, here's the key thing. Tony Khan loves to tweet
How
and
many of
brag.
those are actually watching AEW?
Not a lot, because not a lot are watching on regular
No,
TV.
no.
And the thing is if it was a big number, which Tony Khan likes to allude to that it's a big number, he never releases it. And if it was, he would be bragging
No.
about it incessantly.
Just remind yourself too, Max just took a nosedive. HBO Max just took a nosedive, a huge nosedive. Now I know we're talking about wrestling, and I know what we're talking about subscription based off of the wrestling services, but you have to take in everything else that goes around it, such as let's talk about the same thing. We're talking about this. We'll talk about WWE's Netflix deal. Like that was a smart move because Netflix almost I don't know a person who doesn't have Netflix.
Yeah.
Like there's not many people that you can say, "Oh, do you have a Netflix account?" Well, yeah. If it wasn't for the last like draw where you can't share your Netflix anymore,
Right.
if you didn't if you didn't pay for Netflix, you got it off of somebody else. Like
Right.
that's how it was with Netflix.
Right.
And to have WWE there is a monster. So to think, Max, Warner Brothers, Discovery are all on the Max streaming service where you can get AEW. But it's the other content on there that also affects their brand because I might not watch WWE, I might not watch AEW, I might watch something else on Max. And if something else pisses me off on that streaming platform and I unsubscribe, that takes a hit to the wrestling product too.
Yeah.
So
But
like
here's the
right
thing
now,
though.
everybody's pissed off at HBO Max because they just did the second episode of Last of Us, where if you didn't play the game, you knew if you played the game, you knew exactly what the fuck was going to happen. You
Right.
knew
I
exactly
didn't.
what was going to go down. Pedro Pascal's character was going to die.
Yeah.
It
I
was
didn't
it was
know that.
inevitable. It was inevitable.
I never knew that because I never played the game. And me and my girl watched that. We're like,
All right.
what the fuck, But here's the thing.
See?
That show is
So oh, okay, perfect example then. Think about you. You've never played the game, right?
never.
And you watched it. Let's just say you are a subscriber to Max and you
I
watched
am.
it. And that would you in watching that, knowing that Pedro Pascal is such a draw, would you think about unsubscribing
No. I'm gonna tell you why.
to Max because
No. No. I'm gonna tell you why.
there's other things on there?
because the other shows on there, there's one particular that was is literally one of the best shows on television, The Pit. If you haven't watched The Pit, you are missing out. It's fucking phenomenal acting, and Noah Wiley should get all the fucking awards for his performance in that. The Pit is one of the best shows on TV. I like that show Hacks, which is critically acclaimed. It's a really funny show. Um, there's some other like Adult Swim shows that I watch on there. Um, so there's content on there. I'll catch up on some of the DC movies I never watched, the cartoons. So I'll watch that content. So there's definitely stuff on there that I'll still watch. Um, I'm still watching Last of Us because I just watched the new episode that came out yesterday, which is good. It was a good episode. But I'm interested to see how they do it because I was a big Walking Dead fan a while back, and I read the comic book, so I knew that Glenn was going to die at
Do you
some
know how
point.
many? Do you know how many? Yeah,
I knew once Negan showed up, I was like, well,
sorry.
Glenn's not going to be around much longer now.
That's where it
Negan's
died
here.
off, though.
Yeah, and that's where I stopped watching pretty much after that, not just because of him dying, but because of, it just got boring to me. There was a lot of, talking for, most of the shows, like 2, 3 episodes, and then they finally had an action-packed episodes, which usually end up being good. I've been watching the new one that's on Netflix, the one with Negan and what's her name?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's like a second season's coming out soon, so I'll watch that.
See, so here's what they do. Here's what they need to do. They have all these extra episodes and stuff. Put wrestlers on there. Put wrestlers in these shows. Have them all tie in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know who they are. Like a lot of people who aren't fucking AEW fans, they're not gonna know who fucking Swerve is. They're gonna know who fucking Orange Cassidy is if they get these guys on there. They might know Sasha and
But like
MJF because he's already been in movies. He was in the
MJF
Von
was in
Erich
the
movie.
Iron Claw.
Yeah, but I mean, I think most
Yeah,
people
the
saw
Iron
him and
Claw.
didn't know who the
Like
fuck
that's
he's a wrestler.
sort of
You know, they're not gonna look at it. They're not gonna look at
Zac
these AEW.
Efron. Ooh.
Right. So either way, bottom line is, as we wrap this up today, I think AEW needs to just focus more on their brand, like branding and promoting to the right demographic because what they're doing now is just not working because they should be able to beat NXT like they used to. They have people there that are popular and good wrestlers, but if they just lean on like you said, oh, if you like good wrestling, a lot of people now times have changed. They have short-term memory. If you're sitting there just having this, wrestling match and that's all it is, there's not a lot of great storylines and the promos are okay. People are just sitting on their phones while they're wrestling. They're not even paying attention. So I don't know. They're not drawing me in like they used to. And like I said before, between all the titles, that useless titles they have, the tournaments, oh, here's a debut and he gets a big pop and then nothing happens. Like it's all repetitive shit. And again, they'll have great wrestling matches on there. I've heard so many people say like this match was great, this match was great, but it's just not drawing, especially when you look at WWE and they have, show on Monday, Tuesday, Friday, and then pay-per-views. It's just constant content. It's all pretty good. There have been some down episodes, for all of those brands, but for the most part, lately, they've been hitting their mark pretty strong. So I think that's tough for AEW to compete with, especially when this is the future NXT stars that are future roster members. So I don't know. I mean, what's your final thoughts on it?
The one thing that WWE has, yeah, the one thing that WWE has that AEW doesn't is a farm system.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's
it's a
what should
farm system
ROH
between
be. That's what they should
WWE
do, ROH.
and
Use that for a farm system.
NXT. Yes, yes, I absolutely 100% agree with that. Use that as a farm system. Which we like being sports fans, we know a farm system works.
Hmm.
We know having a farm system works where you bring in talent to the undercard era and then bring them up through the rankings. Like that system works 99% of the time. So I think that because of someone like who helms NXT, like Shawn Michaels, who's been in the culture of WWE for 4 decades now,
I mean, he's been
close to
around
4 decades.
AWA days, and like he was in AWA before he
Well,
was
I'm
in
thinking just
WWE.
WWE alone. Like, was he in WWE in the 80s?
Yeah, because he did.
Was he
Yeah,
an 80s debut or was he a 90s debut?
he was the Rockers debuted, I think, like
You know,
80,
so
80 late 80s.
he's late 80s. So he's
Yeah,
been around for almost 4 decades. So he knows how to build a brand and a product. And then you have Triple H, who is the COO, and he's building a really strong empire underneath Vince's shadow. Like, you can't deny the fact that the WWE is the Goliath, right?
right,
So what AEW needs to do is to literally create a farm system that is ROH. That's where like Kevin Knight should be. And then Kevin Knight should be the ROH world champion and stuff like that. And that would make so much sense. And then have them come up onto Collision or have them come up onto Dynamite as this up and comer, gets them exposure, and then they push it down and they keep it moving. It makes so much sense to do it that way. And again, you need to find the balance. They only get 2 hours from 8 to 10 on TBS, TNT, and Max, and they don't have a lot of room to talk. So you get a lot more wrestling.
right.
And I think they need to find a better balance with that. Maybe it's a shorter match somehow. Maybe they bring back the old MWA rules, 6 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yeah,
Or is it 6:07? It's one of those, it's a 6 minute number and some like odd second number. Um, but the point is that you're right. They need to find their niche. And I think finding their niche is, I think the part of their niche is finding a farm system.
and that's 100% true. And at the end of the day, they're still, I guess you could still call them a young company because they haven't been around that long. So there's going to be the growing pains. They're not just going to be like straight out of the rocket, flying to
six
the
years.
fucking moon. Yeah, like give or
They're
take.
on year
Yeah.
6.
Yeah, so it's like they're gonna have, peaks and valleys like any company. And I think hopefully this is like a learning lesson for Tony Khan, and he's not letting the inmates run the asylum back there. I think he definitely needs to, let
I
Sasha
mean,
lose, even though
Warden
she has
Mercedes is
creative
definitely
control.
running something. I was going to say, Warden Mercedes has definitely got the women's wing under control.
She's definitely got that creative control for sure. And that's what's, she's holding all the belts and she's living her fucking fantasy that she couldn't live in WWE being this type of champion.
I did read a rumor that she doesn't have creative control, but she does. She's such a draw. That's why they're doing it.
I can't imagine her not having it because the way that she's been winning and how often she's winning, um, there should have been times where she could have just taken out, but she didn't. So I'm not really, I'm not buying it. She has to have creative control. But either way, long story short, I'm hoping that they have an uprise and do better and get back to that, the early first few years of AEW when it was really fun to watch and it was fresh and there was new stars that were being created and the fans back it again because it's good to have competition. When WWE bought WCW, it took away a lot for wrestling fans. That's why the early 2000s weren't that good. So you had like a lull. So when people talk about like the early 2000s, because that was first guest appearance right there. Um, when you had the early
My
2000s
tag
wrestling,
partner.
yeah, there wasn't good wrestling back then, and that was because there wasn't really any competition. So having competition helps wrestling as a whole and helps WWE. So but yeah, so we're going to go ahead and sign out. We do appreciate everybody watching the show today. Please like and subscribe. If you get a chance, check out the Final Four Sports program. We've talked a little bit about sports briefly here. If you love sports, Joe, Team Timu Gulak has been on. Joe Demended, he's been on episodes here, and it's also here on the Look It's a Podcast YouTube channel. We got a lot of fun stuff coming up. We'll be doing this every week and talking wrestling. And Joe, any socials you want to promote or anything you want to plug or anything?
Just watch us on Look It's a Podcast Network. There's, like you said, we have 4 current going with a 5th talking about stand-on business. Stand-on business is going to be a debate show where you could debate someone like me about a topic like wrestling or anything. As long as you just stand on your business, we'll get a hot topic. We'll give you some time to research it. And maybe at that point, that's where you come up against someone like me who can talk a lot. But watch all of us on It's a Podcast. Look, It's a Podcast Network. You can see many people on here. So you all have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon and watch Raw tonight, 8 o'clock on Netflix.
There you go. Couldn't have said it any better myself. Check us out on the socials. Look, it's a podcast, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.